When corporate lawyer Madison Pierce discovers evidence of massive fraud at her firm, her partners dismiss her concerns. But after they orchestrate her termination to silence her, they make one fatal mistake. They underestimate a woman who has spent her entire career documenting everything. What begins as professional betrayal becomes a calculated takedown that will expose not just corruption, but the entire network of lies built to protect it. Subscribe to our channel for more true stories of revenge, justice, and personal redemption. My name is Madison Pierce, and the moment I realized my career was about to implode started with a manila folder that shouldn't have existed. It was 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in March, and I was alone in the 42nd floor offices of Hartwell & Associates, one of Manhattan's most prestigious corporate law firms. The city sprawled below me, a glittering maze of ambition and secrets. I'd been working a case for our biggest client, Meridian Financial Group, when I found the discrepancy. At first, it seemed like a simple accounting error. A misplaced decimal point, perhaps. But as I dug deeper, pulling file after file from the secure server, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Millions of dollars moving through shell companies, fabricated invoices, backdated contracts. This wasn't a mistake. This was systematic fraud. My hands trembled as I printed the evidence, watching page after page emerge from the laser printer. The whir of the machine was deafening in the empty office. I knew what I was holding could destroy careers, trigger federal investigations, maybe even send people to prison. And Hartwell & Associates wasn't just representing the client committing fraud. Some of our senior partners were directly involved. I thought about calling someone immediately. The SEC, the FBI, even just a colleague I trusted. But it was late, and I was exhausted, and I told myself I'd figure out the right move in the morning. So I did something that would later save my life, professionally speaking. I made copies, digital and physical. I uploaded encrypted files to 3 separate cloud servers, printed 2 complete sets of documents, and stored them in different locations. If you've ever discovered something that could change everything, drop a comment below and subscribe to see how this story unfolds. Then I went home, collapsed into bed, and barely slept. The confrontation. The next morning, I walked into the office of Richard Hartwell himself, the founding partner who'd recruited me from Columbia Law 8 years ago. His corner office was all mahogany and leather, decorated with photos of him shaking hands with senators and CEOs. He looked up from his desk with that practiced smile that never quite reached his eyes. Madison, to what do I owe the pleasure? I closed the door behind me and set the folder on his desk. We have a problem with the Meridian account. His smile didn't waver, but something shifted in his expression. Oh. I was reviewing the Q4 financials and found irregularities, significant ones. I opened the folder, pointing to the highlighted sections. These transactions don't match the documentation. The invoices are fabricated, and the shell companies receiving these funds, they're registered to addresses that don't exist. Richard leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. He didn't even look at the documents. Madison, you're a brilliant attorney. That's why we value you. But sometimes in complex corporate structures, things can appear irregular to someone who doesn't have the complete picture. I have the complete picture, Richard. I've traced the money. This is fraud. And our firm is facilitating it. His expression hardened. You need to be very careful about making accusations like that. These aren't accusations, they're facts. Documented facts. I pulled out another sheet. And it gets worse. These approvals? They have partner signatures, including yours. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. I think, Richard said slowly, you should take the rest of the day off. You've been working too hard. Come back tomorrow when you've had time to reconsider what you think you found. I'm not reconsidering anything. This needs to be reported. To whom? His voice was ice now. The partners? I am the partners. The client? We represent them. The authorities? He stood, walking to the window. Madison, you're young. You have your whole career ahead of you. Don't throw it away over a misunderstanding. It's not a misunderstanding. No? He turned back to me. Then let me be clear. If you pursue this, you'll be terminated for cause. Breach of client confidentiality, unauthorized access to privileged materials. We'll make sure you never practice law in this city again. Your student loans? Still want to pay those off without a legal career? My stomach churned, but I kept my voice steady. You're threatening me. I'm protecting you from making a career-ending mistake. Go home, Madison. We'll discuss this again when you've come to your senses. I left his office with the folder still on his desk, my heart pounding. But I wasn't going home. I went to my office, logged into my computer, and started documenting everything that had just happened. The date, time, exact words exchanged. I recorded it all while it was fresh. Then I waited. The retaliation. The hammer fell exactly 36 hours later. I was called into a conference room Friday afternoon where 3 senior partners sat waiting: Richard Hartwell, Patricia Chen, and Marcus Webb. Human Resources Director Jennifer Sorensen sat in the corner with a legal pad, her expression carefully neutral. "Madison," Patricia began, her voice professionally sympathetic, "we need to discuss some serious concerns about your conduct." I said nothing, just waited. "It's come to our attention that you've been accessing client files without authorization, taking privileged documents off-site, and making unfounded allegations against both the firm and our clients." Marcus slid a piece of paper across the table. "This is your termination notice, effective immediately, for cause." For cause. The words that would make it nearly impossible to get hired anywhere else. "You're firing me for discovering fraud? We're terminating you for breach of client confidentiality and professional misconduct," Patricia corrected. "You've violated your employment agreement and our ethical obligations. Security will escort you out. You have 30 minutes to collect your personal items." My mind raced. They'd moved faster than I expected, but I'd prepared for this. "I want this in writing. All of it. The specific allegations, the evidence, everything." "You have the termination notice," Richard said dismissively. "I want the detailed allegations. I'm entitled to that." Jennifer spoke up from the corner. "Ms. Pierce, the firm will provide a complete explanation in writing within 5 business days, per your employment contract." "Fine." I stood, gathering my bag. "I assume my final paycheck will include my accrued vacation time and the bonus I'm owed for the Morrison case?" "The bonus is discretionary," Marcus said. "Given the circumstances, my contract says otherwise. I'll expect the full amount." As security escorted me out, past colleagues who wouldn't meet my eyes, I felt a strange calm settling over me. They thought they'd won. They thought firing me would make the problem disappear. They had no idea what I'd been preparing for: building the case. That weekend, I didn't wallow. I worked. My 1-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn became command central. I spread documents across every surface, created detailed timelines on poster boards taped to the walls, and organized digital files into meticulously labeled folders. The evidence I'd gathered was extensive, but I needed more than just proof of fraud. I needed a strategy. First, I reached out to contacts at other firms, carefully, discreetly. I needed to understand my options without revealing too much. What I learned was sobering. Hartwell and Associates had already started spreading their version of events. Word was circulating that I'd been terminated for stealing client information. My phone stayed silent. Job opportunities dried up before they even materialized. They were systematically destroying my reputation. But they'd made mistakes. Several, actually. The termination letter they sent included specific allegations that contradicted each other. They claimed I'd accessed files without authorization, but the server logs would show I had full access as part of my job. They said I'd taken documents off-site without permission, but firm policy allowed senior associates to work remotely. Every accusation they made could be disproven with their own records. More importantly, by putting everything in writing, they'd created a paper trail I could use. I spent days drafting a detailed complaint to the New York State Bar Association, documenting not just the fraud I'd discovered, but the firm's retaliation when I tried to report it. I included timeline, evidence, witness names, everything I could think of. But I didn't file it yet. Have you ever had to choose between doing the right thing and protecting your career? Comment below and don't forget to subscribe. Instead, I did something unexpected. I got a job at a coffee shop. My former colleagues would have been horrified. Madison Pierce, Columbia Law graduate, serving lattes in Park Slope. But I needed income while I planned my next move, and more importantly, I needed time to think without the pressure of legal deadlines and billable hours. The coffee shop manager, a woman named Carmen who'd left corporate America herself 5 years ago, took one look at my resume and laughed. "Overqualified much?" "Unemployed much," I countered. She hired me on the spot. Working there gave me perspective. My coworkers were artists, musicians, writers, people who'd chosen passion over prestige. They had no idea about my legal background, and I didn't tell them. For the first time in years, I was just Madison, not Madison Pierce Esquier, But every night after my shift, I went home and continued building my case. The turning point. 6 weeks after my termination, I got a call from an unknown number. Is this Madison Pierce? Who's asking? My name is Elena Rodriguez. I'm a senior investigator with the Securities and Exchange Commission. I'd like to discuss Meridian Financial Group and your former employer, Hartwell and Associates. My heart nearly stopped. How did you get my number? We've been investigating Meridian for 18 months. Your name appeared in some documents we subpoenaed. I understand you were terminated recently. I'm hoping we can talk. We met 2 days later at a diner in Queens, far from the legal district where I might run into someone I knew. Elena was in her late 40s, sharp-eyed and direct. She laid out what the SEC had been investigating, a massive Ponzi scheme involving Meridian and several other financial firms. They suspected Hartwell and Associates was involved, but they'd been unable to prove it. Until now. We know you tried to report irregularities before you were fired, Elena said. And we know your firm retaliated. What we need is someone who can help us understand the internal documents, the legal structures they used to hide the fraud. I thought about everything I'd lost. My career, my reputation, my savings hemorrhaging while I worked for minimum wage plus tips. I thought about Richard Hartwell's threat, about how they'd tried to silence me. I have copies of everything, I told her. Files they think I don't have access to anymore. Documentation of the fraud, the partner involvement, all of it. Elena's expression didn't change, but I saw the flash of satisfaction in her eyes. I'm going to need you to walk me through all of it. Every document, every transaction. Are you prepared to testify? Absolutely. Over the next 3 months, I worked with the SEC investigators, explaining the complex corporate structures Hartwell had created, decoding the falsified documents, identifying the key players. My background as a corporate attorney made me the perfect witness. I understood exactly how they'd committed the fraud, because I'd been trained in the same legal gymnastics. The coffee shop manager, Carmen, was surprisingly understanding when I asked for a flexible schedule. I knew you weren't really a barista, she said with a knowing smile. Go get them, counselor. The reckoning. The FBI raid on Hartwell and Associates happened on a Wednesday morning in August. I wasn't there to see it, but I heard about it from former colleagues who started calling me. People who'd avoided me for months, suddenly very interested in reconnecting. The federal agents had showed up with warrants, seizing computers, files, everything. Trading at Meridian Financial was suspended. The news was everywhere. And my name was nowhere in the initial reports, exactly as the SEC had promised. But Richard Hartwell knew. He had to know. 2 days after the raid, I received a call from Patricia Chen, the partner who'd sat in on my termination. Madison, we need to talk. I don't think we have anything to discuss, Patricia. Please, just hear me out. Her voice cracked slightly, the professional composure finally breaking. What you're doing, it's going to destroy innocent people. Associates who had nothing to do with Meridian. Staff who were just doing their jobs. I'm not destroying anyone. I'm telling the truth about fraud that your firm committed. Richard made mistakes, yes, but... Mistakes? I laughed bitterly. You helped cover it up, Patricia. You sat in that room and watched him threaten me. You signed off on my termination. Don't call me now and pretend you're a victim. We can make this right. We can settle. Name your price. I don't want your money. I want accountability. The line went quiet for a long moment. Then, you've ruined your career over this, you know. No firm will hire you now. You'll be labeled a whistleblower, a troublemaker. Was it worth it? I thought about the question, about the sleepless nights, the destroyed reputation, the months of uncertainty, about working at a coffee shop with a law degree collecting dust. Yes, I said simply. It was. I hung up. The aftermath. The trial took 18 months. I testified for 3 days, walking the jury through the fraud in painstaking detail. Richard Hartwell's attorneys tried to paint me as a disgruntled former employee seeking revenge, but the documents spoke for themselves. So did the other witnesses who came forward after me, emboldened by someone finally telling the truth. In the end, Richard Hartwell was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. Marcus Webb got 8. Patricia Chen negotiated a plea deal for 5 years in exchange for her testimony against the others. Meridian Financial Group collapsed, with its executives facing their own criminal charges. Hartwell and Associates dissolved, its remaining partners scattering to other firms or retiring quietly. And me? The career I thought I'd destroyed actually opened new doors. A legal ethics organization offered me a position as a consultant, training lawyers on identifying and reporting fraud. 2 different firms specializing in whistleblower cases tried to recruit me. A publisher reached out about writing a book on corporate corruption. I turned down all of them. Instead, I started my own practice. Small, selective, focused on representing employees who'd been retaliated against for reporting misconduct. The coffee shop manager, Carmen, became my office manager. Turns out she had an MBA and had been waiting for the right opportunity to use it again. If this story resonated with you, hit like and subscribe for more real stories of justice and redemption. My first client was a young accountant who'd discovered fraud at his company and been fired for it. Sitting across from him in my small Brooklyn office, I saw my younger self, scared, angry, uncertain. "They think firing you will make the problem go away," I told him. "But here's what they don't understand. Documentation beats intimidation every single time. Did you keep records?" His eyes widened. "I copied everything before they locked me out." I smiled. "Then let's get to work." Full circle. 2 years after the Hartwell verdict, I received an unexpected letter. It was from Richard Hartwell, forwarded through his attorney. He was in federal prison, and he wanted to meet. I almost threw it away, but curiosity won out. The prison was in Pennsylvania, a medium-security facility that looked nothing like the luxury he'd known. Richard had aged dramatically, his hair completely white, his expensive suits replaced by prison khakis. We sat across from each other in the visitor's room, separated by a table bolted to the floor. "Thank you for coming," he said quietly. I almost didn't. I wouldn't have blamed you. He folded his hands on the table. "I've had a lot of time to think. About the choices I made, the people I hurt. You tried to warn me, and I threatened you instead." "Yes, you did. I told myself I was protecting the firm, protecting our reputation. But I was really just protecting myself." He met my eyes. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted to tell you that you were right. And I was wrong." I studied him for a long moment. This man who'd tried to destroy my career, who'd bet everything that I wouldn't fight back. "You know what the worst part was?" I said finally. "Not the firing, not even the threats. It was that you never considered that I might actually care about doing the right thing. You assumed everyone was as morally flexible as you were." "I know. And I'm sorry. You should be sorry to your clients who trusted you, to the associates whose careers you destroyed with yours, to everyone who believed in what Hartwell and Associates was supposed to represent." He nodded slowly. "You're right." I stood to leave. "Madison," he called out. "For what it's worth, you would have made an incredible partner. The firm lost something when we let you go." "No," I corrected. "You lost everything when you chose fraud over integrity. I just moved on to something better. The legacy." Last month, I spoke at Columbia Law School's Ethics Symposium. The auditorium was packed with students who reminded me of my younger self. Ambitious, idealistic, maybe a little naive about how messy the real world could get. "Some of you will face a moment," I told them, "where doing the right thing will cost you everything you've worked for. Your job, your reputation, maybe your entire career path. And in that moment, you'll have to decide who you want to be." A hand went up in the front row. "But what if you can't afford to lose everything? What if you have student loans or a family to support?" "Those are real concerns," I acknowledged. "I'm not going to pretend there's an easy answer. But I will tell you this. The cost of staying silent is always higher than you think. It's not just about money or careers. It's about being able to look at yourself in the mirror." Another student raised her hand. "Do you regret it? Reporting the fraud, even knowing what it would cost?" I thought about the question. About the months of unemployment, the destroyed relationships, the nights wondering if I'd made a catastrophic mistake. "Not for 1 second," I said. "Because I learned something important. Your integrity is the one thing nobody can take from you unless you give it to them. And once you give it away, you can never get it back." The applause was thunderous. After the talk, several students approached me with their own stories. Professors behaving unethically, firms asking them to falsify documents, clients pressuring them to bend rules. I listened to each one, gave them my card, and told them what I wished someone had told me. Document everything, trust your instincts, and never underestimate the power of one person telling the truth, the final word. Today, my practice is thriving. We're small, just 5 attorneys, including me, but we're making a difference. Last year alone, we represented 12 whistleblowers, securing settlements totaling over $40 million and triggering 3 federal investigations. The coffee shop where I worked during those dark months? I still stop by every Friday morning. Carmen saves me my usual table, and we catch up over lattes I definitely make better than she does. She never lets me forget that I once told her I was just passing through until something better came along. Turns out, she likes to say, something better was building itself right here all along. She's right. My name occasionally appears in legal publications now, usually in articles about whistleblower protection or corporate ethics reform. Former Hartwell associates sometimes reach out, some to apologize, others to quietly ask for advice about their own ethical dilemmas. I help when I can. And Richard Hartwell? He serves as a cautionary tale I share with clients who are afraid of retaliation. Not with satisfaction or vindication, but as a simple statement of fact. Corruption always catches up eventually. The only question is whether you'll be part of the problem or part of the solution. My office in Brooklyn overlooks Prospect Park. It's nothing like the 42nd floor views I had at Hartwell, but I prefer it. The park reminds me that there's life beyond billable hours and corner offices, that success doesn't always look like what we're told it should. On my desk, I keep a framed copy of the termination letter they gave me, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. Because every time a new client sits across from me, scared and unsure, wondering if fighting back will cost them everything, I can point to that letter and say, they thought firing me would end this. Instead, it was just the beginning. And then we get to work. Thank you for watching this story of truth, justice, and redemption. If you believe in holding the powerful accountable, please subscribe, share this video, and tell me in the comments, have you ever had to choose between your career and your principles? I read every comment, and your stories matter. The manila folder that started everything sits in my office safe now, preserved as evidence that was entered into federal court. But I don't need to look at it anymore. I lived through what it represented, the moment when everything changed because one person refused to stay silent. They thought I wouldn't fight back. They were wrong, and that made all the difference.